It's not Providence, not Boston. Your station for the South Coast, AM 1420 WBSM.
Good evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa, science advisor Matt Moniz, and Stephanie Burke. I gotta remember to start saying your name first, since you don't have like a nickname or...
I know, you're gonna come up with a really good one.
We need like some sort of fake title that doesn't mean anything. Or, like, what could we call you? Like the director of something.
We'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, well, we've got time.
Plenty of time.
And of course, we are here to talk about the paranormal, as we are each and every Saturday night. The gang's all back together for the first time in a long time. It seems like, when was the last time that we all did a show together? Like 2005?
Sounds about right. I was still in high school.
Well, Moniz has been all over the place. We had a Legend Trips event. We were bumped off the air last week for the Red Sox, but we're back. And we did have a great discussion last week with Bob Olson, whose book Angels to Aliens has now made its debut. And we're working on trying to make a podcast out of the audio. What happened was, Moniz, you weren't here, so I'll explain to you. I can look at you and explain to you and the audience by proxy. But what happened was the Red Sox went late because of a rain delay. So we tried to pull the audio just off the cameras. We just broadcast on Spooky TV and tried to pull the audio just off the cameras. Worked great when we were at Jeff Belanger's birthday party.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to work so well here last week. So we're working on trying to fix that up. And then we'll have that out as a podcast, as well as the Belanger Backyard podcast as well. We have to work on that one too. Matt, I see you unplugging things.
I know.
Well, that's not good.
We're doing okay though. It's just one that's kind of finicky.
Okay. It's a camera though, not the audio.
Camera, sure.
All right.
I'm okay if it's my camera.
Why? You're the only one of us that people actually want to look at.
I don't know. Maybe not tonight.
I'm convinced you used mind bullets. So,
You're sabotaging the camera with
Why
your
is it my camera
abilities?
that's not working?
Yeah.
We're going to have our guest actually research into that
Yeah,
and see if that's even possible.
See, now that's not fair. You're going to turn yours back to you.
I'll take this one.
Wait.
All right, we're good.
We'll keep messing around until we figure it out. But that is on Spooky TV.
Now Moniz is in HD.
Well, that's not. Let's go back. Let's go back the other way. So if you are listening at home and you want to check out the show and what's going on in the studio, Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com is the way to do it. We record a video version of the show and we put it up on YouTube in addition to the regular podcast and, of course, the good old-fashioned live radio broadcast, which we encourage you to come back each and every week because we're excited for this month. This is what we're calling Psychic September because we're exploring the world of psychic abilities and mediumship abilities here on the show for the next couple of weeks. Tonight, our guest is Bob Olson. He is an afterlife investigator and a psychic medium researcher. He's somebody that Stephanie has had the opportunity to meet in person.
I have.
And have conversations with, and she was telling me what a great guest he would make for the show. And serendipity, he contacted us to come on the program.
Which is awesome. I'm actually really excited about this show tonight.
So we'll get into that coming up in the next hour with Bob Olson. We'll talk to him about how he started researching psychics and putting them to the test, and he's created a website, bestpsychicsdirectory.com, as well as bestpsychicmediums.com. And we have all of his websites linked up on the front page of SpookySouthCoast.com if you want to check them out during the program. I did search for some past guests on the Best Psychic Directory.
Did you?
Yeah, some of them are on there, some of them are not. Some of them have yet to be rated by anyone, but some of them are on there. Christine Corda, who we had on just a few months ago, she was up there. I saw her as one of the featured psychics on the side there. So it's a great resource for sure.
It's definitely. I remember years ago I found the website and long before I even touched the paranormal anything, and I found it fascinating that somebody would actually do something like that. And Bob's history and his backstory is actually really, really interesting. So I think it has a lot to do with how he even started this. So I can't wait for him to tell us his story.
Yeah, we'll talk with him about that coming up in the next hour. We'll also take your calls throughout the program, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Now, last week, when we were trying to record the video podcast only, and we were going to make the audio podcast out of that, we did discuss the Legend Trips event at Edaville USA from a couple of weeks ago, and because that audio is probably lost forever, the way that the video ended up recording, but we lost a lot of that. But Moniz wasn't there either, so we can let the listening audience in now, in on the story, and let them know what happened. I thought it was a pretty intriguing night for a place that we weren't really sure if it was going to deliver. Nobody had ever investigated there before. We'd heard the stories. We heard that it had a reputation of being haunted, but nobody had ever actually gone there in search of connecting with these spirits. But it seemed like people were having experiences. It seemed like there was some evidence coming through. I know, Moniz, you were part of the group that was operating on the Midway.
Yeah.
And you had some pretty interesting things come up.
Well, what I found interesting is I had, the best way to describe it is seeing this luminous orb over the pond and bog area. And I had one of the other members that were there witness it with me, and we were both like, wow, that was a weird light, and it was, definitely not a reflection from anything.
Was it around the tracks or on the on the pond itself?
Over the pond itself, the pond, where the feeding ponds for the bog, it was in that direction.
Right.
And then I come to find out that Andy Lake and one of his other guests saw it as well, having other independent verification of it. Some people were hearing various voices and stuff around some of the rides, and
the train itself which was parked at the time, but that seemed to have some activity happening around it.
Yeah, somebody got some good pictures and a couple of good EVPs out of it.
Now I know, Stephanie, that in your delicate condition,
yes,
that you probably are trying to not put as much. You're probably not trying to make these psychic spirit connections as much as you probably normally would, but sometimes you can't help it and they just happen.
Mm-hmm.
When you were there, were you getting anything? Were you picking up on anything?
There was a lot of people there, so what people don't realize usually is ghosts kind of get overwhelmed just like we do. Ghost spirits, however you want to approach that, but I definitely was picking up on different things here and there, different spots that were more active than others.
What were some of the more active spots?
I have to say that attic was pretty interesting.
The third floor of the museum building?
Yes, and the house was as well. I did not spend time personally in Dino Land or the Midway, only because there was a ridiculous amount of mosquitoes outside, so I tried to stay away from them. But the two places that I did spend the most time were pretty interesting. I was caught alone in the attic a couple times. One of the times I was with you and we went out to clean up, and there was just a different sense of what was going on up there. Once everybody left, it gets interesting.
We had some pretty intriguing Ouija board experiences.
We did.
In that third floor of the
attic. That's right.
Including one, we decided to try a test, a little bit of an experiment. And we had Stephanie on the board with Chicago, who has come to a number of our events, and she is sight impaired. So we had somebody who can communicate with spirits without a board, paired up with somebody who can't see the board to be able to manipulate it either. So we were trying to see what would happen, and we were having things come through.
Yes.
We even had Mr. Atwood himself, Ellis Atwood, came through and spoke to a couple of the groups. So that was pretty interesting, and saying that he loves everybody being there and he loves people coming to the park. And I think my favorite was when they asked him if he liked Christmas, and the planchette just flew. Yes. Do you like the kids coming here? Yes. It was pretty interesting to see. So.
It was a good time.
And it was fun just to be in parts of the park that nobody else is allowed into. That was part of the attraction for a number of people, not so much the paranormal stuff, but to be able to be there and see Edaville behind the scenes.
Right. I think the last time I went was probably close to 20 years ago, and all there was a Christmas train.
And I thought I was going to be like a kid running around that place. But did you guys see Belanger?
Oh, he was all over.
Running around with his engineer's cap. And
I love it.
And, it was. We definitely had a great time. And, of course, we have some Legend Trips coming up. We're trying to plan events for October and November if we can pull them off. So stay tuned to legendtrips.com if you want to find out more about that. You can just go to that website, sign up for the mailing list, and you will have first crack at the tickets before they go on sale to the general public. And that's very important because a lot of our events, they do sell out. Pretty much every event sells out.
They do.
And some of them, sometimes we do smaller ones of 25, 30 people, and they will sell out in pre-sale alone. So you want to make sure that you join the list and that you respond to those emails when they come through. But we have raised over $20,000 to date now to benefit historic haunts. So we're going to keep doing what we do, and we'll keep doing it for you, the Legend Trippers, because you guys are what makes it such a success. And last week, I mentioned it a little bit, but again, we weren't on the air. And I mentioned it a bit here during the week when I've come to fill in, but I had been teasing that I had a big announcement this past week. Well, it was formally announced on Tuesday. It was supposed to be on Monday, but they decided to wait. I don't know why they decided it would be better to wait 24 hours and have it coincide with the launch of the iPhone. Thanks, but it's still a big announcement nonetheless, and that will be that the program that I worked on, Ghost Stalkers, that's stalkers, not stalkers. We're not putting them on the shelf. We're hunting them down. Ghost Stalkers will debut on Destination America on October 19th. It's a Sunday night. The show will be on at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you who are football fans, the Patriots are not playing that day at all. They have a Thursday game that week, so you will be able to check out the show, sit down on the couch, live tweet during it like I plan on doing, and let us know what you think. But I need everybody to watch it. I need everybody to tune in, and let's make it a big success. The announcement came down this week. See, there were so many things that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So many secrets that I had to keep. But the executive producer of the program and the creator of the show is Nick Groff, one of the investigators and the executive producer of Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. He is the one who is behind this show. It was his vision. But the investigators who will be on camera are John Tenney. And if anybody in the paranormal doesn't know the name John Tenney, check him out. WeirdLectures.com is his website. He is known throughout the paranormal world for his very unique take, his very interesting research. He finds so many things that other people never find in their research, and he's willing to try things and explore different theories. So he is one of the investigators, along with Chad Lindberg, who you probably know as an actor from the Fast and the Furious, the first one, from the show Supernatural. Any of you guys ever watched Supernatural?
Yep.
So you know the character of Ash?
Mm-hmm.
The what's his name? Dr. Badass, he calls himself. That's Chad Lindberg. He was in the film October Sky. You've seen him in all kinds of stuff, CSI. Well, he is the other investigator. And what's interesting about them is they have both had experiences, direct experiences, with the other side. Chad, when he was younger, I believe he was 8 years old, he had Rye syndrome, and he was in a hospital, and he was very near death. He rebounded and he recovered, but he was already starting that process of making that transition of feeling, his final hours coming upon him. A priest actually came and administered last rites, told the family, you're going to have to say goodbye. But he was able to bounce back. And John Tenney, when he was 17 years old, he had a heart condition. He actually had a heart attack and died.
Mm-hmm.
Literally died and was brought back to life by the doctors. So he actually went to the other side, and he had his own experience there that he'll share with you on the program. Well, the two of them have decided to team up now because they have a theory that if you go to certain places where there's been a lot of life created, where there's been a lot of death that has happened, these are places where that connection between our world and the next, our world and other dimensions, that veil gets kind of thin. And we have these locations that hold portals. And so John and Chad are going to investigate sites that allegedly have portal activity, and they're going to see if that has an impact on the paranormal activity that is taking place. If we can say that the reason why these things occur is because of the presence of the portal. And they've enlisted the help of David Roundtree, who is an electrical engineer, an audio engineer, and he is also the gentleman who runs Spirit Lab out of New Jersey. And he has created a wormhole detector. He has a system that he has built that can detect the presence of portals. You're going to get to see that in action on Ghost Stalkers. So you want to stay tuned for that program. Again, October 19th. I don't want to say too much more about it because I don't want to give away anything, but follow me on Twitter at Tim Weisberg. I'll keep tweeting out updates as much as I can. And if you talk about the show on social media, use the hashtag Ghost Stalkers so that the network knows. that you are fired up and ready for this show. They actually debuted the first 3 acts of the first episode at Scarefest today. Because John and Chad were there to make the big announcement, and they screened the first 3 acts, which is about the first 25 minutes of the program, and the place went nuts.
That's awesome.
Chad sent us a video that he recorded there, and it was just watching everybody's reaction at the end of it. They went crazy, and they only got like half of the episode, so there's still parts of it that they haven't seen. So it's very rewarding that people are getting excited about this, because when you start out with, I've been critical of paranormal TV. We know that.
We all are.
And I've sat here in this chair and said, that show is garbage. That show is garbage. And I want to make it clear that when I've said that, it was before this opportunity to be the writer and the researcher for this program came up. I did not speak about any paranormal shows after I made the agreement to be part of that. And I think it would probably be best if I don't from now on. I won't comment on shows anymore. But outside of, we can have general discussion about it, but I won't be critical of the shows anymore. But when people are talking about these shows, sometimes they're not nice. Sometimes they're brutal. Before they even have the chance, before they even give it a chance. Now, I haven't watched Ghost Asylum yet, which is also on Destination America, but I've seen people be critical about it already. And I've seen people making comments before it even aired, just based on the title alone.
I think a lot of those people are the people that want to be on the shows, but
yeah, it's a little bit of
don't
jealousy.
get a chance to. I think so. Or they think that they can do a better job.
So, but I expect that. I expect that some people are going to feel that way toward this program, but instead it's been overwhelmingly positive. I think because you have names that are respected in the field. When you have John Tenney being part of a show, people know that Tenney's not going to sign up for something, that's going to be cheesy. They know that it's going to be about serious research. So that's getting people excited. And the same thing with Nick, of course. If you've watched Ghost Adventures, you've seen how Nick handles himself on investigations, and that certainly comes through as kind of the prevailing spirit, no pun intended, with how things go on Ghost Stalker. So stay tuned for that again. October 19th, it's coming up on Destination America. If you don't have Destination America, you can come over my house and...
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I was listening to you on the afternoon show on WVSM the other day, and you mentioned... And I had to cut out the radio before you made the announcement, but are you definitely sitting at home and watching it, or are you considering the other idea?
I've been talking about the possibility of having a public event, and I still have to check with the network and make sure it's okay. Because when something is on television, you're technically not legally allowed to broadcast it to a large audience without permission. So, bars, when they have football games, there's certain restrictions and rules that they have to follow. So I want to look into that and find out, and I'm sure I'll get permission from the network to be able to do so, but do I want to sit at home and live tweet and catch people's reactions as they're happening and be involved with it in that way, or do I want to go out in public and have everybody come and have a big party and do it as a fundraiser, as a canned food drive maybe for Mercy Meals and More, something along those lines? Do I want to do that? Maybe we'll get knuckleheads and...
I mean, you can just always have the Humane Society bring down all the kittens and we can do a kitten adopt.
No, you don't need to be around any more kittens. That's
fine.
That's But yeah, I gotta decide, and I gotta see what Nick wants too, because he's the boss. If he wants us to be available during the show and to be live tweeting. I mean, again, I'm just the writer researcher. I'm not a cast member or anything, so I'm not really high on that totem pole. But it's depending on what they want. I could see the fun and the interest in both sides of doing it. But there's a chance I may be going down to New York for the big premiere. For the press in the beginning part of October, so I'll at least have already seen the show. So maybe I can just schedule my tweets, so that I can just fire them off.
Good old social media, you can do anything now.
Well, I don't actually know how to schedule tweets. I'll have Costa do it for me. He's the tweet scheduler. Well, you know how to do it too. All right, so there, we got our bases covered. But that's the big news that I've been teasing now for a couple of weeks, and I want to thank everybody out there for being part of the Spooky South Coast audience. If it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for you guys helping me do the show every week, and helping me with the research that I do, it's not, nobody can do one part of this by themselves. Everybody has help, everybody has influence, everybody has networking when they don't even realize it. Moniz, you and I have talked for hours driving places about what we think the paranormal is and how these things happen. We've had these discussions off the air, we've had these discussions on the air, and all that kind of shapes this stuff. So it's very interesting to see that paranormal TV, I think, has been kind of stuck in a rut for a couple of years, where they're
Yes.
still kind of at the point of we're trying to prove to the audience that ghosts are real,
Mhm.
and we have to move beyond that. We have to kind of accept that, at least for the premise of a television show, yes, ghosts are real. Now, what does that mean? And that's what we're trying to do, which is why I'm excited about it. I don't think I would be this excited to work on it if it was just another investigation show where they were saying, is there anybody here? Yes. Okay, we got it. Let's go home. There's more to it than that. And there's more, and they're not trying to help anybody, which is very interesting too. Like they're not trying, they're not coming in with false promises.
Mhm.
They're not coming in with they're not trying to remove ghosts as some of the programs
They're just
do.
documenting.
And they're trying to make that connection. They're trying to broaden the scope of things. So it's not just about having the spirits there. It's about where did they come from, why did they come from, and if they're coming through, why can't something else come through? And I should be pretty forthcoming about that and saying the show is called Ghost Stalkers. It's not always ghosts that come through these portals.
Well, that leads me to my
Teaser.
little teaser. What I've been working on for the past month and a half, so I just solidified
Everybody
this
has
weekend.
a TV show. What is this?
Yeah.
Matt, you and I are starting
Right.
our own right now.
Yeah.
I've seen
Ghost Cats.
I love it. I love it.
I've seen your videos on the X Hamster site, so
Oh, yeah,
I know
yeah.
that you've been involved in TV production yourself.
Is that
Okay.
is that about hamsters?
I just gave a plug for a porn site too.
That's what I said.
I expect T-shirts out of that deal.
Okay.
All right,
But
sorry.
I am going to be working on a show about abductees.
Sweet.
Well, can you say anything more than that, or
No, because of agreements that we've made.
will it be?
They're still filming stuff.
Will it be?
It'll be on
like,
Destination America.
Will it be recounting stories, or will it be? Is it what's the word that I'm looking for? Is it more of the dramatizations like we saw in Monsters and Mysteries in America? Is it along those lines where it's people sharing their
Yeah,
experiences?
similar. Yeah,
Okay.
similar.
So,
So-
what's your role?
My role is multifaceted. Sharing, shall we say, intake of people's stories, any physical analysis and stuff like that. It's more of a I'll call it commentary on the particular cases that they focus
So you'll
on.
be on the actual show instead of behind the scenes.
Both.
Okay.
But it will be experiences that have already happened.
Yeah.
You're not going to be taking people and offering them up.
No.
All right, good. I feel better because I know sooner or
Because we
later
won't be
you'd,
friends anymore.
sooner or later you'd be calling me up and be like, dude, we got one more episode to film this season. We need somebody. Can I send you up there?
We have one
No.
more space left on the spaceship. Would you like to go tonight?
No.
I'm not going to say a thing about people, hanging around with me all of a sudden winding up, being visited.
Well,
That's why we don't go to your house.
I've been hanging out with you for 10 years now, and I'd like to think that nothing's happened. Let's keep it that way. So, but Destination
Ignorance
America
is bliss.
is certainly becoming like the paranormal network. So if you have not checked it out, you certainly should do so. See, now I was a fan of Destination America anyway. Like, I don't really watch all the paranormal shows necessarily, but I love shows about extreme water parks and extreme roller coasters and all those shows. So they've got all that stuff. It's fantastic. But they've built quite a paranormal repertoire there, and it seems like they're only expanding more. And we should also say, too, that on October 1st, there's this they're having this big event called Ghosttober, where there's going to be all kinds of paranormal programming.
That's great. Why didn't we ever think of that?
Because
we'll
we had
just-
enough trouble trying to copyright Spooktacular.
No.
We'll put it on Ghost Cats and call it a
Alright.
day.
So, but the kickoff to Ghosttober on October 1st will be the television debut of the Bridgewater Triangle documentary.
Cool.
They still haven't announced the time. And I should stress to people that if you are going to wait for the Destination America airing, you're only going to get half of the documentary. They're essentially cutting down the 90-minute documentary into 1 hour-long program, which means about 44 minutes with commercials. So you'll only get about half of the program, half of the documentary, when it airs October 1st. So if you want to get the DVD, you have to go to the BridgewaterTriangleDocumentary.com. You can get the DVD and the Blu-ray there. That will get you the entire 90-minute film in its entirety, but there's also going to be a number of showings happening over the next few months, including ones that are completely free of charge. Certain libraries are showing the film, and you'll be able to go and watch the film without having to pay an admission fee. However, space is limited for those events, for those showings. So you want to go to the BridgewaterTriangleDocumentary.com, and you want to find all those listings and figure out where and when you can go see it. And of course, you never know when one of us is going to pop up in one of those showings, especially, in October. It'll be a Wednesday night. We'll have nothing going on. There'll be a screening. We'll say, hey, let's go. We can talk to some people afterwards, and we can hear some of their stories and hear some of these tales from within the Bridgewater Triangle that you might not get to find out about. And we are working on doing our annual Bridgewater Triangle investigation show coming up next month. We have a lot of things in play that...
busy.
Right. We're really waiting for a few dates to drop. And then once they do, everything will solidify. But right now, trying to book Legend Trips events and trying to figure out who's going to be around, what weekends in October. Once everything drops into place, then we'll be able to set that show up, and we'll do it like we always do it. But I'm trying to find a new twist on it this year, and if it all works out, it'll be pretty special.
I got a twist. People sending in, vines from the.
I think Vine died.
Oh, well.
But we can do Instagram video.
Well, you get the principle.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I think, did Vine die? Is Vine officially, have we put a cork in it?
I don't know. I don't use it, so.
I think the only people who use Vines now are struggling comedians.
Right.
Trying to make funny Vines, but...
I see Rob Delaney last time.
Oh, yeah?
He's pretty funny on it.
Well, yeah. So there you go. So if you want to get involved, absolutely. Of course, the Bridgewater Triangle Investigation Show is always about you folks, and we'll try and find a way to do that, because we have the ability to bring in YouTube videos and things like that with our spooky TV stream, so maybe we'll figure out something. We always say this every year, and technology just confuses us.
I don't think it confuses us. It just doesn't act right.
Confuses the hell out of me. But we'll have that coming up next month, so that'll be exciting. But again, this is Psychic September. That's what we're having this month. Coming up in the next hour, we'll be joined by our guest, Bob Olson. And next week, we'll be joined by Matt Frazier, who is a well-known medium here in the area. And I know that he's got an event coming up later on this month at Howland Place. It's a fundraiser for the Kennedy Donovan Center. So he'll join us next week to talk about that and give us a little bit of information about himself and his abilities. And maybe if we have time, next week we'll do some readings as well with Matt. It was originally going to be that he was going to come in here and he was going to be on the whole program and that he was going to take calls. But then the Red Sox, they're playing a night game, so things get all screwed up. So we're going to try and do our best to accommodate his schedule and still have him on the program. And then September 27th, huge guest, we're going to have joining us James Van Prague, who I know you're very excited about, Stephanie.
I am.
This is the guest that you wanted when you came on board the show. So you'll have the chance to talk to him and interview him. And you said you've met him in the past, have you?
I have.
So
I have.
You already know that he's
an amazing person. I can't wait to have him on the show.
Great conversationalist. Even if you don't believe in psychic abilities, just hearing his stories.
All around, just his energy, his aura, everything about him. He's just a great person to talk to, and never mind the abilities. Seeing him read, I've never seen anybody read like that before in my life. So I was blown away when I get to see him in person. But just as a person and who he is, it should be very interesting.
Well, so we will have him on September 27th. You'll have your chance to call in and ask him any questions that you may have. I don't think he'll be doing any readings because we only have him for an hour.
Right.
But we'll have the chance to talk to him, and then we'll find out what he's all about. So that'll be September 27th. So Psychic September here for the rest of the month. Now, we have about 6 minutes left in the hour before we have to take a break for the news, at which point afterwards we will be joined by Bob Olson, who will share with us his research into the world of psychics and mediums. And you can find out about his websites and his book by going to SpookySouthcoast.com. But before that, let's spend a few moments getting a little weird.
More bad news. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
The Week in Weird.
All right, up first we have an armchair detective feels he identified Jack the Ripper. Russell Edwards, a London-based property developer, claims the culprit was a demented Polish barber named Aaron Kosminski. In Edwards' newly published book, Naming Jack the Ripper. He details his search for the identity of the mysterious killer who murdered and mutilated 5 prostitutes in London's East End in 1888. Edwards spent 14 years trying to solve the mystery. Edwards insists that the DNA found on a century-old blood and semen-stained scarf reportedly found at one of the crime scenes proves Kosminski, whom detectives had once considered to be a possible suspect, was the killer. Edwards purchased the silk shawl. You got me all tongue-tied tonight with this story.
Sorry.
Silk shawl discovered near the body of the victim, Catherine Eddowes, at an auction in 2007, and spent years having forensic scientists run tests on the semen stains that were compared to DNA from one of
Kosminski?
Kosminski.
Sorry.
I'm doing terrible.
I tried
Polish
to spell
names.
it phonetically for you the first
The
time.
Polish names, I know. Descendants. That was a really interesting story. I read the larger one. How do you feel about it?
This is like the 45th person that's
Right.
claimed to know the existence of Jack the Ripper. I know
Just
that.
add it to the pile?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
You're just saying that it's, him because of that's his DNA. It doesn't prove he's a killer. The only thing it proves
It
is
could be
even
anything, really, yeah.
could have been one of she could have been
Dating him?
Anything,
yeah, right.
dating
one of
in
his
quotation marks.
one of the clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well,
I
what?
was trying to be nice, dating.
And I'll save you the trouble of having to read the next story. We'll hold on to that one for next week.
Oh, good.
We'll just tease that and say that next week we're gonna have a poop story. So we're trying to class up the show a little bit. We'll have a poop story.
Are you firing me
Next
because
week.
I couldn't pronounce it? Polish
No,
name?
it's because I'm looking at the clock.
I know, I'm just kidding.
And I know that you can't read this story because of what exactly happened. You might
no.
want to just take your headphones off for this one. A California man was arrested on charges of stalking and animal cruelty after his ex-girlfriend told police that he killed and cooked her dog before feeding it to her. The woman contacted the Redding, California police on September 9th, telling them she was a victim of domestic violence and stalking by her 34-year-old ex-boyfriend, Ryan Eddie Wattenpaw of Palo Cedro. She said that she had been physically assaulted numerous times during their relationship, which lasted several months. According to police, when Wattenpaw attacked her on August 1st, August 4th,
Sorry.
spelling off on me, and she ran out the back door of her Redding apartment. When she returned, Wattenpaw was gone, and so was her Pomeranian named Bear. They did reconcile briefly in September, and Wattenpaw cooked the woman a meal.
Oh.
On September 7th, the woman received a text from Wattenpaw asking her how her dog tasted and referenced the meal that he cooked for her. He continued to send the victim menacing text messages stating various things he planned on doing with the remains of the dogs. With the dog's remains, sorry. Around 1 a.m. on Tuesday, the woman heard a truck pull up to her residence. She looked outside, saw Wattenpaw walk up to her home, place something near her door, and walk away. When she opened her front door to investigate, the woman found a small bag containing dog paws, which she identified as belonging to Bear. So Wattenpaw was arrested Wednesday by the Shasta County Sheriff's Department, told investigators that he did send the text messages, and he did place the dog paws on the porch, but denied killing or cooking the dog. So how did he get the dog paws if he didn't kill the dog? That's the question. He was arrested on charges of domestic violence, false imprisonment, stalking, and animal cruelty. Additional charges will be sought regarding the weapons that they found in his home. He is being held in lieu of $250,000 bail. So there you go. Matt, next time you offer to make dinner, I'm going to turn you down.
Right.
Don't take it personally.
No problem.
All right, that does it for the Week in Weird this week. Any stories that you have for us, you can send to us, tweet them to us at SpookySC. We do have to take a break now for the news. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk to our guest tonight. He is Bob Olson, an afterlife investigator and psychic researcher. So you want to join us for that discussion, and you want to check out his website, bestpsychicsdirectory.com. That is the way to find out everything about him and to find out about his work in investigating psychics and mediums. Some fascinating stuff on his site for you to check out, including the link to buy his new book, which we will be discussing with him, Answers About the Afterlife. It's also linked up on the front page of SpookySouthcoast.com if you'd like to go to Amazon and purchase that book during the course of the discussion. But right now, it's time for the news. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes with more Spooky South.
For local news, talk, and sports, the South Coast turns to AM 1420 WB.